I got a question. One thing that's polarizing a lot of people is the Night King's death.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah,
Episode
that's
three.
yeah.
Everybody keeps harping. It's episode three. It's episode three. If you call this a big movie, you just killed the villain halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, not real bright in a lot of ways. What are your opinions, Carillion?
Yeah,
Okay.
Carillion. Go.
Traitor!
Okay. So first of all, this is Game of Thrones. We don't have one villain. We have multiple villains in this show, multiple major villains. The Night King,
Yeah,
yeah,
but how many are left outside the room,
he could
Carillion?
be
Two? There's two.
he could be
There's two
considered.
outside the room. All our major villains are now kumbaya together,
Well,
right?
okay, well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. There was a there was a meme I saw today, or a quote at least I saw today. It was like somebody put in an article said, "So let me get this straight. So now all they have left to fight is a pregnant lady and a pirate
Yeah, and the mountain.
and the mountain."
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, the Franken Mountain. Oh
Yeah.
my
Franken
God.
Mountain.
Who's
Yeah,
That'd
gotten
be the
very little
worst.
screen time. I can't wait
Zombie
for
Mountain.
that can of whoop ass to be open.
But no, I think that I mean, obviously they've built up Cersei to be. Obviously, she's not the type of villain like she's not the super villain Night King type. You know, she's the more kind of person you actually know in real life. The scheming, backstabbing, you know, political
Mhm.
intrigue that just will do anything to come out on top. So in a lot of ways, that makes her a little bit more despicable.
She's the
Whereas the
absolute
Night
worst
King,
leader to be in charge, and she ended up in charge.
correct.
She does
Yeah.
not
That's
give one shit about the people
about
that she's
anything.
supposed to be
Yeah,
leading.
other than
Right,
herself. Yeah,
right.
exactly. So, no, I don't have a problem with them killing the Night King in episode three. I honestly, I predicted this was going to happen to myself. I was like, no, they're going to deal with the Night King and the Army of the Dead at the Battle of Winterfell, and then the end of the season is going to be King's Landing with just the humans going at it, basically,
So
and
you thought that was
and that
going to
the
happen that way.
yeah, I thought all along that was the way it was going to happen. So, so I'm not surprised, and I'm not shocked, and I'm not disappointed by that. What about you guys?
You want me to go or you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
you
ahead. Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
want to hear your opinion.
This is one of the things that I said was maybe a disappointment for me. That made, but that will
Ah,
really
okay.
be determined by the remainder of the series because I kind of would rather have had the series climax with the two battles becoming one, the battle for the Iron Throne and the fight against the existential threat of the Night King, because that existential threat, and this may be too from me being a book reader,
Hmm.
it's been like the core of the
Hmm.
mythos of that world for millennia. You know,
Yeah.
the White Walkers have been the existential threat for millennia. It's at the core of their mythology of all the legends that they tell and everything.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of a disappointment to me that he went down so quickly in one night, and
Yeah,
that then we're left with the human element to fight. And I kind of think it would have been better if the human and the god element could have combined and come to the climax in the final episode together. But I really don't
I
know.
could
It
see
may
that.
be that the human conflict will make up for all of that in the last three episodes.
I,
I think I gotta hold my judgment until the end on that. But I was a little bit disappointed that he went so quickly with three episodes left. Greedo, what
I
was
wanted
your
to. I just wanted to interject that the whites are the symbol in the. They're the first thing you see in the first threat you see in the books,
Hmm.
but absolutely no one is aware of them. That matters, and it's the frustrating part is how slow everyone is to catch on to what's going
yeah.
on,
Hmm.
and so they're indicative and symbolic of the actual threat that's coming while everyone is so obsessed with
Yeah.
politics, and
Yeah.
that politics don't matter, and who ends up on the Iron Throne doesn't really
Doesn't
matter
matter. Yeah.
because everyone has forgotten to honor their oaths. Everyone has
Hmm.
forgotten why things were made the way they are. Stannis is the only one who came when the Night Watch called. He's the only
Yeah.
potential ruler honorable enough to show up and remember that this is the way it's supposed to work. This is one of your responsibilities as king, queen, whatever. Whoever's on the throne is supposed to defend against when the Night's Watch tells you something's going down. You're supposed to show up and do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so for them to remove that, it's like the spine, it's the core of the books.
Yeah, that's what
Is
it felt like.
intertwined through. There's corruption going on that's way more sinister than the human corruption, because it takes no prisoners, it has no mercy, and no one knows how to deal with it. But there is corruption there because they buy babies from corrupt humans. You know, they have a whole. I mean, they're not just soulless monsters. There's a system in play,
Oh,
and
absolutely, yeah.
so when you remove that, it is like you said, you're left with the end game being the thing that was supposed to be insignificant.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That
I
worries me.
mhm.
So I don't know. But I thought though that the demise of the Night King, the overall episode was thrilling. I thought the way that the end of it played out was beautiful, especially with the music. Um, as he went to face Bran, and we're cutting away to other characters who are trying to fight for their lives, and John trying to get away from the ice spewing dragon. You know, everybody trying to get there to Bran to stop the Night King. That beautiful piano solo that's like the one that they used whenever Cersei blew up part of King's Landing. All of that was beautiful to me, but I just wish that he hadn't. I think I might have even, I don't know if I said this to Greedo or to my husband after I watched the second time with him, but I said I wish that this had been the last episode, and I wish that and that it had been in conjunction with fighting for the throne, and people finally
Yeah.
recognizing that fighting for that damn throne isn't worth it. You know, there's
Right.
got to be something
John
better.
can no longer say, you know, the true war is coming and none of this matters.
Yeah,
He can't
yeah.
say that with authority anymore. They've already beaten it. They've
Yeah,
done the
so
impossible.
I just don't know. I wonder how the last 3 episodes are going to pull me back from that opinion about that. So, but I will reserve opinion until the end.
I think there's probably a huge amount of people out there feeling that way.
Yeah.
Way worse than we are. I mean,
Maybe
there's
big book
people that are really
readers who are
invested in this
yeah.
show and have been looking forward to this and are very disappointed. I think that's going to be the major issue at the end of this series if they don't distract us all with something just absolutely amazing. You're peaking in the middle, and it doesn't really make sense with the whole lore. I'm imagining there's a lot of people that feel like the lore of Game of Thrones has become really important to people. Not to me so much, but it is extremely interesting. I love it as the history and the background in the books. I don't like delve in and read all the cliff notes and go find the source material and read all the stuff Martin releases, but I love the fact that it's there and it's so deep. It gives you a feeling that the world is real, you know, and that people know this stuff. I don't need to know it. I just need to know that the characters know it and that it exists in their world, you know, that they have all this depth of history to call upon. And so when you deface the lore a little bit, the way they kind of did in this episode, there's gonna be a lot of people who are just way too into it who are going to be extremely disappointed.
See,
And
Carillion, though, coming from a non-book reading perspective, I mean,
yeah,
you didn't feel that at all. So maybe it's my biases from reading the books and having a kind of Tolkien-like connection to, you know, the huge world of beyond the show. You know, I really don't know. So we'll
um,
have to see.
okay. Anybody want to say anything else about this episode? I mean, we haven't
Yes,
touched on
oh yes,
Arya.
we have to talk on Arya. Yes, we
Okay,
have
go
to talk
for it.
about Arya. Um, uh, I loved that Arya was the one who killed the Night King. I was utterly surprised,
I love
and
that
I
too.
know that you see that as a violation of the lore of the Lord of Lights, chosen the prince or princess who was chosen or whatever.
The prince who was promised. Yeah.
Yeah, the prince was promised, but I still loved it. I loved it because and my husband who watched it with me the second time, he said, "Oh, she was the right choice because she's a servant of the many-faced God, you know, and
Death coming
she
for death. Yeah.
yes." So he said she was the perfect choice, and I liked the use of the dagger that Littlefinger had used to start this whole chaos in the first place, to break up the Stark and the Lannister families, to start the War of the Five Kings. And the dagger that was supposed to kill Bran, he gave to Arya, I think, because he saw that she would use it that way.
Mhm.
Um, so I liked all that, and I loved the moment when she jumped out and got him. I know it was a cheap scare, but I loved it. I couldn't help
I
it.
did too.
We saw
I
I
it,
had
didn't.
no
I
problem
didn't.
with
I
it.
didn't think it was a cheap scare. I
and
thought it was wonderfully
uh,
executed.
Yeah.
everybody in the auditorium erupted screaming.
didn't.
just
Yeah, but no.
it was an awesome moment.
Don't tell lies. I didn't interrupt.
I
you.
actually, I
was
listened to
dead
the
silent.
entire thing except for Greedo.
Right. I was aware of it too.
I
I was like, oh, everybody's screaming and peeing their
I
pants.
for a split second thought Arya was dead there.
I did too. When he
I
grabbed
did.
her
I
when he
remember one of the
grabbed-
girls in the
I thought they
auditorium
were
went,
gonna tell you that off.
"No," when he was holding her by the throat, and she went, "No."
Yeah,
It's like,
I
you
thought they were gonna
mewling
pass
kitten.
that off
shut
to
up."
say,
Don't die, Sir Friendzone.
No, please. Oh.
There's 3 people left.
Brace yourself for her dead.
Yeah, but I love too the move that she used on Brienne. You know that she uses that same fake with the knife to get him in the gut. So I liked all
It
that.
gave me sad flashbacks to Last Jedi when Rey dropped the saber in
Yeah.
a move that was so dumb because she would have been cut in half by the. She was literally holding a vibroblade with the lightsaber at bay, and she turned it off and dropped it so that so the blade would have cut her head off. But anyway, but she won. So, but yeah, it gave me flashbacks of that. I even had the same shot of the blade dropping from underneath.
But I thought so. You thought it was well done, Greedo?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I love the shot of her flying out of the snow.
mhm.
And the only we're gonna get into my rant here in a second. If I'm asking anybody else has anything good to say. Her screaming was purely aesthetic choice. There.
Yeah, it was.
Because
She wouldn't have done that.
Ah, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
You don't do that. That
You're
was
just
epic
giving as much
stupidity.
warning as possible that you're
But,
coming.
Also maybe she was mustering her energy, and it's like a Kia, martial arts.
right. It's a way
Scream
to
to maybe you just had
channeling
to. She
channeling
had
your
to
power.
get that leap
Yeah.
out of her,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was all the Night King needed to know she was there and turn around. It could have cost him everything. I really thought Bran was going to pull the wolf pelt off his lap and have a big ass crossbow. I really thought Bran was going to pull the wolf pelt off his lap and have a big ass crossbow with a dagger, with the dragon glass right when Night King turned just right in his back, and then she stabbed him in the front. And you're like, I see everything. Did you forget? Knowledge is great. So is a big ass crossbow of dragon glass. And then he has dragon glass spikes come out of the wheels. And he runs over his corpse over and over again with the wheelchair.
Dragon glass. Why didn't he have some dragon glass on him? I
He
don't
didn't need it. He had Theon to throw his life away uselessly. He had all these people to throw their lives away uselessly. He didn't need it. He saw it all. He knew what was going to happen. He's like, oh, it's exhausting. If I save Theon, then it might change things. If I say, so I guess I'll just let them die. Because I know this will work. He's like the Doctor
go ahead.
Strange. He's like the Doctor Strange of Game of Thrones. You guys probably didn't even see the first Avengers movie, Infinity War, where he said, "This is the way we win." It's Tony Stark or whatever. He saw like 8,000 infinite futures and figured out the way they would win because he had the time stone or whatever. The brand's the same way. There's always a mystic character like that.
Well, that was my other disappointment with that scene is that I expected a little bit more from him. I thought that the confrontation between him would be more than just that little exposition that they gave last week that Bran represents the history of the world and that's why the Night King wants to get him. I thought there would be something more specific between them and that maybe the time travel element would be involved. I didn't want it to be excessive to where it would be like the whole series had been a dream or anything like that. But I wanted a little bit because they gave such important hints of his three-eyed raven powers earlier in the series. I wanted a little bit more of those powers to come out in that final confrontation with the Night King.
I
So
expected
that was
them to
my
come
other-
up with some kind of BS excuse why he couldn't interfere. You know, it's like I am now. If I interfere, it'll
Yeah.
ruin things. Mankind
Yeah.
has to decide its destiny, and maybe, you know, like a lot of these things, he's a now. Just like you said, if the magic is dying, well, he's gonna remove himself to the north and say like, there's no longer a place for the three-eyed raven in this world. The Night King was my reason for being. I know too much. I'm gonna withdraw, and you know, I think he's gonna go in his wheelchair and. I mean, or he's losing it. He knows when the Night King dies, he will die shortly thereafter. So he can't interfere because it would be changing his own fate. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go with
Yeah.
it. It's just cliched as everything they've already done.
So what will he do now? What role will he have in the series now
You
that the
can't
Night
have a guy who knows everything just sitting around. You
Yeah, I
can't
know.
have, not even for
what
3
will
episodes.
happen with him?
He's got to go.
That's what I'm confused about.
I think
Am
he
I-
would remove himself from the equation. And it just like Merlin did when he said,
He'll
I'm
go beyond the
leaving
wall?
now. When Gandalf did with the Hobbit, he said, I'm going to go do something more important. They're like, what? Where are you going? Yeah, like, I'm too powerful for this part of the story. You don't understand. You will never get in any trouble if I'm around. So he has to go explore something other, you know, thing. Like, I think there's still a little Night King thing left somewhere. I need to go look, you know, or something. I don't know.
Do we
He could just
believe
remove
that the
himself.
Night King is really dead? Let me ask you is the threat of the White Walkers really dead?
No, but the Night King is dead. Yeah.
What about you, Caroline?
What, the Night King is not
No,
coming
the-
back?
What
What?
about the White Walkers?
Oh, they're done.
So you think that whole threat is gone?
I think so. Yes.
I don't
I mean,
believe
just-
so.
I
Just the
don't
way
think-
that they stabbed and just they all just shattered into nothingness. I mean,
No, I think
not
the
just-
last shot.
not
I think
to
the
say
last
that-
shot of the series is going to be the next. Is going to be the next White Walker
Mhm.
rising
think
up
it
or
will
Well,
what?
I mean,
Turns
well, that I could see because honestly, I could technically see that from some of Craster's babies,
Yeah.
growing up and they become the next wave or whatever. So no, I could see it from. I thought, but I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought you meant like, is the threat still going to be there? Like they're going to go down and start fighting Cersei, and next thing you know, here comes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere. No, we're talking
attack
about somewhere in history in the future.
Right,
where
right.
they'll
No,
start
that
doing
I
stuff.
don't think they're done forever. I think they're done as far as the story is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that.
The Night King had thousands of years, or what? At least 1,000 to fool around and come up with something. You know, contingency. I don't think it's just over in one little stupid battle.
My husband thinks that he or some element of the White Walkers will return for the final episodes. That it will get involved in the King's Landing.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
I don't
that
see
he
how,
thinks
but
it's a
I don't see it.
ruse. No, I don't see that either. I think that they're gone at least until the end and maybe a hint of a threat to come. Was there everybody then? I guess what do we want to talk about next? We've talked about Arya and the death of the Night King, Bran.
Mhm.
Do you want to mention disappointments or things that you want to?
I don't have any major disappointments. I would say, because again, overall, I enjoyed the episode. I mean, we've already mentioned all this. I was happy with it. So whatever maybe little disappointments I had here and there are very minor in the big picture of it all. So honestly, they're not even worth mentioning.
So you
What about
feel
you,
like it was a satisfying ending to the White Walker storyline?
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Gundart?
I had those disappointments that I mentioned but
Okay.
I'm still reserving final judgment until the last 3 episodes to see how they play out in comparison to this
Hmm.
climax of the Night King story. And I'm thinking that maybe the White Walker threat isn't entirely just gotten rid of, as that seemed to imply that maybe there will be some hint of it coming back in the future.
Hmm.
I'm thinking that maybe we should uh, that we should blow the 3 horns now because the Night King
Incoming rant.
Russ's Ross.
Incoming
Yeah,
rant.
yeah.
I'm
I'm
not
probably
fighting
gonna be
alone. Come on.
I'm probably gonna be very disappointing because I'm a low energy right now. But I do have some things to say. I know I'm sure we're running long. Everybody has things to do, lives to lead, and they just don't want to hear me rant. But I have been polite and respectful and held off this whole time. And I've tried to talk about things that were great about it. There's a lot to like here. There's a very good, solid episode. My only hope is that for the lore and all that this wasn't all the prophecies and everything coming true, because it didn't have any sort of air of that at all. And so I hope this was just a prelude, a reminder not to take the natural world for granted or whatever, and that magic is back. And I hope there's another wave. I hope the Night King was just another king. I hope there's maybe he's got a queen, maybe he's got a prince or an heir or something, because we were promised a prince, right? The prince who was
or a
promised,
princess.
not a little girl who was promised who
Yeah.
could do kung fu.
Yeah.
And she's the only one in 1,000 years to get close enough with a Valyrian steel dagger. But anyway, uh, my problems with this episode. If we're gonna do this, let's do it. Number one, the defenders and the good guys are freaking stupid. They are stupid. They are freaking stupid. They are too stupid to live. They all deserve to die. And they are so stupid that I'm not even sure I care about what happens to them next at this point. I got to think about it. I got to watch the episode again. But when you're that dumb, why do you expect me to tune in and see what you do next? Just more dumb stuff? You can't beat Cersei. It's impossible. You're too freaking stupid. You're all stupid. What they did in this battle was a colossal, epic failure. Name me one strategy that worked. One. Only strategy that worked was Arya coming up with her move, and Bran knew it was going to happen. So Bran just waiting it out. He's got frostbite on his toes. They're going to have to amputate his feet and everything. But he's staying there all night, and that's the only thing that worked out. You have Dothraki. You light up their swords, which is cool, and you sacrifice them for a cool shot. That's all that was. It was a cool shot. What the hell was Daenerys Khaleesi? Khaleesi my ass. This is the worst Khaleesi who has ever lived. She watches all the men die for no reason. Then what does she do? They come to her with a plan. Fino, let's charge your Dothraki into the Night King's hordes. And it's okay if they get killed. They'll come back as zombies and fight us all again on horseback. So we'll just have thousands more of them to deal with. But we got your Unsullied to guard the way. But we'll drop the bridge behind them. Their commander will just sacrifice them all. Oh, so you're gonna go win a throne after this with no one? You came all this way and you fell in love, I guess, with Jon in a couple episodes. So you're willing to throw away all the minions who followed you, who have no stake in this, they're like dying, going, I just want to see the weed of home, and they're dying and being turned into zombies. That was horrible. And I don't care. I've been her fan from the beginning, and I wanted to see her win. I don't care if she wins now. She deserves to lose. Who came to her with that plan and said, we're going to, by the way, all your entire armies are going to be sacrificed. They're gone. Why would she agree to that? Can anybody tell me?
That's not.
No, it is because the writers didn't know what to do with her armies. They needed to make her equal with Cersei or lesser. They needed to give her something to struggle with.
I would agree with that, but I also think that I would agree that it's plot contrivances.
I guess I got my energy back.
It's plot contrivances in part, but also to begin with, a cavalry charge in the Middle Ages of heavy cavalry was standard. You look until the Battle of Agincourt, the
First
little
off,
bit of
not heavy cavalry. That's not. They're
Well,
Mongol.
yeah, they're not wearing not armor with
They're light cavalry.
fences.
They're just like Alexander the Great's troops. They're just like Mongolians. They fire bows from horseback. They're agile on horseback. They're not a brute force to be thrown into against a horde of zombies, which you don't even know is there. You
They're
can't even see.
zombies.
They charge in the dark. What if the undead had
well,
just been
that's a
like,
good
let's dig a
point.
pit?
Okay.
They've just been out there.
Okay.
Let's dig a pit. Let's dig a pit. Let's dig a pit. Oh, here come the Dothraki. They fell in the pit. Game over.
Okay, that's a good point. They are charging. They're charging in the dark, and so they're. But then they have. their
Don't send
lit
cavalry
sword.
charging. You don't send anybody charging in the dark. And then why in the world, when you got to man the walls, would you leave the Unsullied out there to die? What for? The only reason was to guard the
Yeah.
retreat of the people you uselessly put out there in the first place. They didn't even need to be out there. What did they do? They bought nothing. They bought a few minutes, and they were all animated as zombies, which John knew the guy could do. He didn't tell anyone.
Now, I would agree
Yeah,
with you
that was
that maybe
Congratulations.
they didn't have to be outside the walls in the first place. But the Unsullied were covering the retreat of the others and then their own retreat. They were retreating rank by rank until they had to finally light the pit.
Okay. Well,
There were-
I didn't see that, so
Yeah,
we'll
no,
agree. to
Yeah,
disagree.
they were
I didn't see
retreating
very
rank.
many. We'll see how many Unsullied are left standing. There
Yeah.
were hundreds of them in ranks. Let's see how many are left next time.
Yeah.
I guarantee it won't be many.
Yeah, well, that's where the plot contrivance element comes in.
But what kind of
Yeah.
Khaleesi sits there and watches that? I know people will say, well, she got on her dragon and jumped in, but the plan was for her to sit there and watch and not even get involved. She is worthless. And I wouldn't follow her down the block at this point if I was one of her people. It's a shame Jorah died defending her when she was stupidly went
Didn't
along
say
with
that
that
she's
stupid
a
plan.
poor strategist. I don't think that
Everyone's a poor
with
strategist.
her
There's
not
no, everyone's
caring
on their
about her people.
Their strategy was nothing. It was the worst strategy I've ever seen. And then the only strategy that might have been worse was the Night King. Because the only thing he had to do was sit back and do nothing. He had to just sit there and wait. He could have waited winter to kill Bran. Bran would have been dead in another few hours of exposure. He didn't have to even lift a finger. The only way he could lose was to show up and walk up to Bran. That's the only way he could lose. And that's exactly what he did.
I never totally understood why he had to get Bran in the first place.
No one does. They just mentioned it an episode ago.
Why couldn't they kill all of humans? Why does he have to specifically get Bran? That's what I didn't.
Well, the
really
only
understand.
part of the killing Bran thing that I was kind of understanding was that it's killing all human memory. And it was all contained within Bran, who is the three-eyed raven. That way you wipe out all memory of humans. At the
Yeah.
same time, you're wiping out all of humanity.
I have
so
no
nothing
problem with
survives.
that. But please explain to me why he's so stupid that he would show up and let his enemies just have crack after crack at him. When all he has to do, if he wants to wipe out humans, why doesn't he just wait and fly over with his dragon and reanimate the dead every so often? Everyone in the castle would be dead. Everyone. He doesn't have to do anything. So why did he do that?
Mhm.
So all I'm saying is it was a battle between stupid people. it's like people who got dropped on their heads when they're at birth. It's hard for me to get invested. I was very disappointed in just the stupidity of everyone involved. And in the moment when I was watching it, I was like, let's see what happens next. I'm open-minded. But when you think about it, I hate stupid stuff. I mean, I'm stupid
Well,
plenty
then
of times.
are you backtracking on your initial?
No. I look,
Yep.
take it for what it is. But what a swing and a miss, in my opinion, for all the stuff they could have done. Congratulations on getting it finished. But man, it's going to be hard for me to watch it, and maybe I'm just weird or unique that these things bother me. But I'm supposed to believe that these are medieval knights and these are medieval strategists and these are Dothraki and none of it made any sense. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I'm not talking about the photography or any of that people are complaining about. I'm talking about just the overwhelming stupidity of their plan and how they waited and no one really had any urgency and they waited for the Night King to show up and this was their plan. They came up with the plan like the night before. Bran said, "Oh, I'll wait in the Godswood. He's after me." And then, "Oh, really? oh, okay. So this changes everything, but we still weren't planning anything." Anyway, I was outraged to see the Dothraki and it's like people don't care anymore. But we spent years over there with
Yeah.
Dany doing the Dothraki stuff. That's just a spit in the face of all that and of her whole Khaleesi thing that she would just throw them to their deaths like that. Did they really think they were going to win? the whole strategy was we're buying time. Well, why do you start the battle like that? It makes no sense. If the gate is the weak spot, which they put all their forces in front of the gate, so I would have had the zombies come around the back, and just flank them and just climb up the other walls and stuff. And then there's all kinds of stuff you could. And why engage in the battle they want you to fight? But anyway, if you have them all guarding the gate and the gate's the weak spot, well, you put some of the cavalry behind the gate, so when the gate is breached, they charge and knock everything back, and then they come back in again. You barricade the gate. When they break it, they charge again. You also put cavalry on both sides, so when they start breaking in the middle, you put them up on hills. You put them where they can see things, where they can respond and counterpunch. That's what the Dothraki are like. They're not suited for fighting zombies. They don't even know what they're fighting for. So anyway.
Well, I was talking to a friend today. I was talking to a friend today, and my big problem. I mean, I'm not near as passionate about the flaws in the battle plan as you are, but I did make the comment. I was like, I don't understand why they started with the Dothraki. I do understand the medieval lore of starting with a cavalry attack, and I know that that's true to that time frame, but. To me, the way I summed it up best, my quote was, quoting myself here, if you have dragons, start with dragons.
Yes.
Right.
Start by burning them up with dragons. And then
at least you could see what's out there if you light
at least
something
if
up.
nothing else, the fire illuminates the darkness. It dissolves the darkness.
What was the plan to hold back the dragons? They said in previous episode, hold them in reserve to draw the Night King in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't buy that either. I didn't understand that.
They wanted the dragons to be able to respond quickly to wherever the Night King showed up, so they could burn him, thinking that the fire would kill him.
That's the thing. Yeah, you take out the Night King and everybody else dies, which ultimately was true.
But then why let all your people die before?
Plus, they know if the Night King gets loose with his dragon on your forces, it's over. He's going to obliterate Winterfell with that dragon. So you have to have the dragons to counter it. And with 2-on-1, you figure you have a good shot of winning that fight. And if you get him on the ground, you can. Even if he's immortal, you cut him into pieces and mail him to all parts of the Seven Kingdoms, and never shall they be assembled again, right? And he's neutralized effectively. But yeah, I have no necessarily problem with that. It's the fact that you got a new girl in town. You say, okay, we're going to make you queen, and as your first act, we're going to throw all your troops into the meat grinder and all of your forces, so that you will be left alone. You'll still have your dragon, hopefully. But, I mean, why would she trust them with that game plan? And she lets her Jorah lead the Dothraki charge. It made 0 sense. None. And
then I'd say that's insulting. Out of character for Dany then.
It was out of character for everyone. And it's strictly for the writers or whoever. I don't want to crucify the writers. Everybody says writers. Who knows who it is? But it's because they don't know what to do next. They're like, we have to even the playing field, and we have to sacrifice things. So instead of killing Arya or whoever, will kill off all the Dothraki, and that makes sense because then we have a real conflict with Cersei left over. Give me a break, And who would send your humans out to just be reanimated and come back at you? You're defending a ground. Stay and defend the ground. You have a fortress. You have 2 dragons to cover the air. What the hell? I will never understand that. The more I think about it, the more outrageous and stupid it is.
If maybe it had been more, maybe they're playing more on Tolkien and not Helm's Deep, but Minas Tirith. The Pelennor Fields cavalry charge and all of that.
Which is how you use cavalry.
Yeah, that they've got a cavalry and they think they've got to use them.
Break a siege.
When it really doesn't make sense to use them in a night battle like that.
No. 0. I don't care if they got flaming swords. Anyway, so that is obviously a huge problem for me. The Night King showing up and getting offed like a chump like that, when all he had to do was sit back. Maybe if we establish the Night King as someone who's like, I've been looking forward to this, I'm going to handle it myself. And his minions are like, no, don't put yourself in harm's way. And he's like, get out of the way. I don't care if I die. I just want to, I want to do it myself. And if there's a hero honorable enough to take me out, I want to see him or whatever. That's kind of how I felt like he dealt with Theon. Was like, what you got? And then he just knocked him aside and he went, well, you tried. And he stepped over his body. He's like, you're trying to be a hero. You're a dead hero now. I'll give you credit, but you're a dead hero. So I feel like he's looking for somebody worthy, but they didn't play that up enough. And he gave Dany a shot too with the dragon fire and everything. And anyway, but I had a serious issue with that. I have a serious issue with every single character being overwhelmed in a total death situation, and they just walk out when
And
it's
then
convenient.
getting out.
The worst, the absolute worst, it was John when, and this is one of my favorite moments in the episode, and it will be one of my favorite moments probably in the whole show, was when John was racing to try to kill the Night King before the Night King's doing
Raise
this
his
slow,
arm.
yeah, the slow raise the roof or whatever he does, and that was great. You know, that it was a callback. We knew what was going to happen. We didn't know what was going to happen. We're like, sure. I thought surely John's going to come up and like cut one of his arms off or something. So he's still alive and he's still able to proceed, but he can't do the raise the dead thing.
Mhm.
But it was freaking awesome that he got that off, and all the, you see the guy's eyes opening as John's running past him, and when they surrounded him and he's freaking alone. What is wrong with these zombies? Now suddenly they need a few minutes, you know, to gather themselves and be lethal. They're like, oh, who's this guy? Is that one of us? No. Wait. Hey, show us your ID, pal. You know, instead of and he's dead. They showed him surrounded by like 20 in a circle, and they're closing in. He's like, oh my god, and that was dumb. But I mean, I understand it's set that way so that you can cheer and squee and be a fanboy or fangirl when the dragon and Dany comes to save him. But there's a lot of things to me that are dumbed down, going against the grain of what this is supposed to be about. I understand there's a conflict of the two tales of the books in the show. You have the medieval reality with epicness slowly creeping in, but that doesn't mean everyone just becomes a brain dead idiot and forgets their whole lives. Like I said, my problem with the last episode, with all these villains gathered together being friends, or opponents. Let's not call them villains. They're better as opponents than they are as friends. I'm sorry, it's boring. You know, it's like the end of the road when they become friends, and so it's like there's a conflict of two tones going on, and I'm not holding out faith that they're going to have an awesome ending. I think this was a clear signal that we're going to get a happy ever after ending, or as close as we're going to get. Probably the one Carillion picked, where they go their separate ways, but everyone lives, and there's a
Right.
possibility of milking some movies or something down the line.
Mhm.
It was way too nice. It was way too I won't say unrealistic because we're dragging the stuff, but all the stuff we said that's positive is very true. You know, all the shots that were great. The undead dragon was phenomenal. I did like the fact that John failed, even though it goes against the lore. I really, though, believe that Arya's training and everything, and Arya's whole journey wasn't about taking out mystical creatures. It was about dealing with people.
That was
Mhm.
the other
And
thing I was
and
going to ask.
she,
Do you
when
think
you
that is this what George R. R. Martin intended? Do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think she was the wrong choice for this. It should have been reversed. I think I've always thought she's gonna be the one to deal with Cersei. Well, they can't have her be the one to deal with Cersei now,
Yeah,
because she's already dealt. She'd just be
dealt
the
with the
hero of
Night
all.
King. Yeah.
Yeah, but her skill set is specifically for taking out a queen, or you know, just like she did with Walter Frey or Walder Frey. But I guess they could say she's already done that too. So, but I thought she'd be the one to handle Cersei, give her the death blow or whatever. You know, I thought others might be responsible. See, when you got a prophecy that says your brother will, and it will be your downfall, and you got a person who can take the face of someone and come in close to you. I thought that'd be a great way to fulfill. You get an awesome character death in either Jaime or Tyrion, and you get Arya using their face to get close enough to Cersei to take them out. What an awesome ending that would be,
Yeah.
for Cersei anyway. But now you can't do that. It's got to be Dany or Sansa or somebody else. You can't have, you know,
Why
Batman.
can't you do that?
'Cause
They're
It would just be the
because
Arya
she'll
show.
be invincible.
It's just the Arya show at that point. This is an ensemble. You can't make.
Yeah.
John's been the overwhelming kind of ponderous hero to this point, and now he had his limelight stolen, which is fine. He needed to be knocked down a peg, in my opinion, or 10. But I'm sorry, who is perfectly suited for going head to head with Cersei? You know, nobody really.
Yeah.
Arya was the choice for me,
Yeah.
and so now because she met the priestess one more time, all of a sudden she's got the power to, you know, if you just believe in yourself.
Yeah,
you
I
can
don't
become
know.
the king.
If anybody sees interviews with Martin or anything where he mentions his opinion on how
Mhm.
the show is working out, I would love to know, because I teach a class about adapting literature to film and TV, and we're doing Game of Thrones in the fall semester, and I'm really intrigued about what's happening now that they don't have any more Martin source material to adapt, and he's not writing the scripts anymore. So I'm wondering
That's the
to what
biggest weakness to me is,
yeah.
unfortunately, he's lost his way. I don't know if he's ever gonna finished the books or anything, but he's a great writer on everything he does. And they were adapting material, and then when they weren't, I really think the
So
show.
you haven't heard anything about to what degree he may be collaborating with them at this point? Is he not collaborating
I've
at
heard him
all?
make snide comments and stuff, and like saying like, "Hey, a lot of the people they've killed are still alive in my world," and stuff
Huh.
like that. So I think they've kind of I think they listened to the idea that we have to go our own way if we
They
want
kind
this
of
to.
party ways.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't know. Carillion might know more than that, but I have a million plot holes and nitpicks about this episode that made no sense to me. Arya showing up, I have no problem with the execution of that, except that it made no sense. Again, it's just too insulting. I can't just. I know we're watching fantasy, but she doesn't have wings. She's not a magical fairy creature. How the hell did she get in there for that killing shot? There's a grove full of people who laid down their lives to hold back the horde. The horde is covering every inch of place. Now, if she got there beforehand, that means she laid low and watched everyone die
And
and
let
watched
Theon
Theon
die.
charge to his death. Which that's okay, so what? That's fine. But please explain. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. That over the top heroics just don't fit in this world where there's no explanation, and it doesn't matter who it is. If it's Arya, if it's Jon, I've been hard on Jon because of his, just stupid stoicness where he's just constantly wanting to die and be the hero and just please, and this
Well,
whole thing of honor and you're a good man and all that, it's counter to Game of Thrones. Um, it's pandering to an audience that wants to finally get a message about, oh, it's worthwhile to live a good life and go out like a hero. The books are about how futile and stupid that is. I mean, a large portion of them, and about how the survivors write the history. So it doesn't matter whether you're an honorable man or not. You end up an honorable man in the history book if you are influential enough to pay the scribe. And so I'm not down with all this, all this
what
redemption.
about the death of Ser Jorah? I mean, you thought that
He didn't
that
need
was
redemption. It was great. Yeah. That made sense. I didn't understand how he got there, but
so
the logistics are going to be impossible. But I just say write a better story. I know I shouldn't be criticizing them. They threw together something that's really good, but it could have been phenomenal. I hate seeing these moments pass where it's underwhelming in any way. When I know I can't even imagine the chore. It's like some of these shows, just if you looked at the boards that they write where they're trying to connect all the characters and all the stories and just getting everything to work has got to be
yeah.
impossible. So kudos to them. It's easy to criticize, but also it's like if your whole centerpiece is going to be this one episode, make it make sense. Don't just go, they did this last year. Oh, we'll let that go. That doesn't really make sense, but we'll let it go. Oh, we'll let this go. We'll let that go. Pretty soon you got a pile of corpses of things they've let go, and your world has no more integrity because nothing makes sense. So I'll stop, but that's my issue. I could go on and on about all the plot holes and all the ridiculous stuff that happened that took me out of it. But I loved all the chaos when the zombies were knocking down all the doors and Jon was running through them and they were coming out of the ceiling. And,
Yeah, that was
and,
okay.
and dragon with
falling out of
fire
the-
springing out of his neck. Maybe this is all I've got to hang on to, but it's pretty damn kick-ass. So I'll hold on to those things and try to let go of the stuff that bothers me. But my God, if they had stayed true to form, making it clever, just make these people clever. Don't make me pity them. They deserve more. Let's be honest. Don't they deserve more? Or am I persuading anyone at all? I mean, don't you think these characters deserve a little? Didn't they deserve the full treatment? I mean, really, are they this stupid? There's no hope for them. And I always come back to this. How many shows have I said I don't want to follow these stupid people anymore? I've said it over and over again. It's like, and I've said it on Walking Dead. I've said it on
some points I can agree with
Discovery.
on this, but it has not anywhere near reached that point with me yet that it's at with you.
How many
Not
have to die
anywhere.
before you realize that it is lethal?
This show is still among my top 4 favorite shows of all time, and despite the flaws, and even I think if it totally craps itself in the last 3 episodes, I think that What's Gone Before is a remarkable show. It's remarkable
Agreed.
it even ever
Yeah.
got made, that the guys had the guts to even propose it, and the HBO went with it.
No,
It's
all that is unassailable and unassailably true, and
and
they've made
it will never
a
be
phenomenon. But it's become ponderous and slow, and the phenomenon has become bigger than the sum of its parts. There's always this point where stuff can become a little more obscene than it should be and loses its way from what it originally was supposed to be. And I think they jumped that shark last year. And
Yeah, maybe.
I've seen enough evidence now after 3 episodes, and this is, I mean, if this is it, if this is the resolution of the whole North struggle and everything, it just shows me that they're just trying to draw it to an end. They're
Yeah.
just done. They're just done.
Well,
They
well, there were
they're out of
critics that were
ideas.
there were critics that were complaining about that last year, that they felt because the rushed pace showed that the showrunners were tired after 8 years
Just
to
trying to get
9 years of this. Yeah, they were trying to just get it into the can at the end. But
I
I don't.
It's got to be incredibly exhausting. It's dominated their lives, and like I said, more power to them. I just, gosh, it's so frustrating to see these characters that you love just being morons. Um, their struggle for survival would mean a lot more if the enemy was truly powerful, more powerful than them just being dumb.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to build that kind of mythos and deliver on it, as we've seen
Yeah.
again and again and again. But for me right now, I am enjoying the ride still because there's quality here. We love these characters, but we're forgiving a whole multitude of sins because of our love for these characters, I think. And so anyway,
Maybe.
I'm self-aware. I'm enjoying it, but I'm self-aware. I'm not letting this pass. This shall not pass.
Well,
But Carilion's been completely silent because I've been
Yeah.
ranting, but nothing has swayed him. He just loves it.
I enjoyed to me. It's escapism. It gets me away from the crap of my day. I'm not gonna like make it ruin the rest of my life by picking it apart. So
My life was ruined. My life was ruined long ago. So I'm not worried about that either. I just
all right. Well, as we approach the 2-hour mark, are there any final comments that anyone has? So this is like 9 episodes in one right here. After editing.
our chat about it is longer than the episode.
Yeah, exactly. No, it really is. It's hour and 47 minutes right now.
Well, thank you for letting me rant.
Absolutely.
And
This is where it
I tried to
happens.
I tried to hold off. Well, we had a good discussion all before that, and everything I said before that was true. Just like Gundark, I'm of two minds about it. I'm still going to watch, of course, and see the end and hope for the best. But I've seen this so many times before when the well starts to run dry, and but it has not been
I
a
have to.
dishonor either.
I have too, and let me tell you that every one of my favorite series has ended that way. Every one of them, except one, has ended in a way that's been dissatisfying to me, and yet I love them. They're great works of art. I would not want to be without them, and I honor, what went into the making of them and the great episodes they produced, and I'll do the same with this show, even if say the last 3 episodes disappeared, poof, and were never to be seen.
Yeah.
It's been worth the ride for me. So
Well, maybe it's going to end in a peace treaty, and that's why they put the battle now, because the battles are over.
not that I won't be disappointed, if there isn't something better in the last 3 episodes, but so far, and even this episode, there was so much to enjoy for me, that even if later things don't pan out the way I would like to give this more gravitas, I still just really, really enjoyed this episode. So that's where I stand.
I enjoyed it, but it was frustrating, and I'm going to watch it again. I just think a whole lot of the watchability of it is based on our real-time experience of the suspense of going in spoiler free and everything. And if you judge this as a standalone, as part of an overall story and the conclusion of the story, it's very unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Carillion, give us the last.
The mindless drone
Bring us
Carillion
hope.
loves it.
He just wants to go to sleep.
Yes.
At some point, I want to ask questions like, when did the Whites go from something that you brought a ranger back from the north and put his body in the castle and he suddenly rises again, to it being an active force of the Night King bending his will and rising people? Because stuff like that has changed drastically over the run of the books and the show, but especially the show, because the Night King's not even in the books, I don't think. But it was like people that died north of the wall, they brought their bodies back and they're dead, and then they had to resort to burning them because they didn't know which were going to come back and which weren't.
Yeah.
And they did that in the show too. So when did it come from a passive force of people who were killed by White Walkers or something being like zombies, like having an infection and coming back to an active. It was the Night King lurking outside the wall, animating the guys in the fortress of the Night Watch.
Huh, that's
There's a whole lot of questions I have that probably way too much thought, but I'm telling you, so much thought went into Song of Ice and Fire that it's dishonorable to just drop the ball and not ask questions, because a ton. That's what's so amazing about the books, is so much thought went into it, so much effort and creativity and just amazing stuff. It's not, they're not perfect, but for it to become just it's basically Lord of the Rings at this point, or this episode was. Why did Sauron put all this power in a ring?
Yeah.
It could be destroyed. It was really kind of
Yeah,
dumb.
and
Dumb
one
of
of the
him.
great things is that it's not Lord of the Rings; it's the anti-Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
So
but it still came down to a
Mhm.
Death Star with a
yeah,
Mhm.
passage to the main reactor that Arya used the Force and hit it, and it blew up the Death Star
Yeah.
right at the moment. Prepare to fire, prepare to fire. It's the same. She'll get her medal next week, and the Hound is Chewbacca now, I guess. But I mean, haven't we seen enough of that convenient way out of stories where there's one big colossal weakness that, I don't know. That kind of stuff just bums me out now. With something with such intricacy of Game of Thrones. But I will stop because I'm going on and on. We love you. All right, everybody's zombified, so I'm going to drop this to a close.
Sorry, I'm zoned. It's like 11 o'clock at night and I gotta be at work in 7 hours.
Me too.
Sorry.
I don't have to work, bitches.
All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week when we do episode 4. Hopefully that one will be a 5-hour epic discussion. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook, like our YouTube page, make some comments, subscribe, always subscribe, remember that. Tweet us on Twitter at Cantina Club 78, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Don't ask, it'll quench your thirst. We all know round here, Solo always does shots first.
From year 1105 till now, still no cure for stupidity.
Sing it with me, you'll know. At the Cantina Club.
Out of water.